there is no elaborate plan for people to rise up from the poverty. We hear of the Hustler Fund. If actually they are serious with the Hustler Fund, the government, then they should give a good percentage of that fund to the farmers of Matungu and Mumias at large, so that they can replant the cane, so that they can supply that cane to Mumias Sugar Company and other companies, so that they can revive the sugarcane farming industry. Madam Speaker, this country, the economy, everybody agrees that the economy is in shambles. And instead of the government also joining the wananchi in crying about the bad economy, it should give us an elaborate plan about what they are going to do to revive the economy in the shortest time possible. Madam Speaker, there is a plan that was elaborated by the President that we should cut down costs. Instead of cutting down costs, the government should come up with a wealth creation method. We are not in the mood of cutting costs, we are in the mood of creating wealth. So the government should create wealth instead of cutting costs. Nobody is ready to surrender their allowances or whatever they have targeted, just because we want to revive the economy. The first step is the government to give us an elaborate plan on how to revive this economy and on how most small enterprises are going to get a boost or a kickstart so that they can be empowered instead of waiting to be employed in a white-collar economy. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg support.
Thank you. Member for Busia.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I want to, first of all, thank the people of Busia for overwhelmingly voting for me. It was a landslide, and I will not take that for granted, because the task ahead of me is just to keep serving them. I want to make sure that the children who cross swamps in Busia to go to school, it becomes a history. And also our children, or rather fishermen in Busia who are in jail for fishing in Kenyan side of the lake, are also taken away from jail. I just want to also emphasize that the widows, elderly, and people living with the disability in Busia have got a mother. And I want to still thank them for believing that I can take care of them. About the President's speech, he did not mention about GMO, but he is implementing. What I don't know is he ignorant of the disadvantages of GMO? Because where I sit, GMO is toxic to our bodies, and GMO causes loss of nutrition. We already have malnutritioned children and even adults in Kenya. Why should we bring such a thing again to our nation? GMO causes cancer and it causes antibiotic resistance. So I do not know, because in his speech he never mentioned about GMO. We should, as members of parliament and leaders of this nation, we should be brought to knowledge of some things before they are introduced to us. Kenya has a natural habitat and very fertile soil. We wouldn't love to downgrade that. And then I also wanted just to know if the President, because he didn't again mention about the perforated boundaries. I recently witnessed Kenyans dying like chicken.
Member for Tigania West. He's not here. Member for Ugenya.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to also join fellow members in congratulating you for being elected Deputy Speaker for the 13th Parliament. Madam Speaker, I know who you are. I know how you take matters seriously, and I know that this Parliament is in good hands with you as Deputy Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to also take this opportunity to thank the people of Ugenya, who against all odds have stood with me, who against all odds have seen me come back to this Parliament, even when everyone thought that I will not come back, even when everyone who cared had written me off, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the people of Ugenya profusely for having faith in me, in being able to champion their agenda, their wishes, aspirations, and their needs at the national level in this Parliament. Madam Speaker, we are here to discuss the speech given by the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, on the 29th of September this year. Madam Speaker, there are things that we take for granted. There are things that we think just happen. Madam Speaker, we must thank Kenyans for being peaceful, for being civil, for being mature democratically, Madam Speaker. You know, if you look at what happens in our neighboring countries, Madam Speaker, you'd appreciate the fact that our democracy is growing, the fact that our democracy is maturing, the fact that a time is going to come when elections will just be a matter of course. They will not cause jitters, they will not cause opprobrium, they will not cause panic in the country. Madam Speaker, if you looked at the economy before the elections and now, and if you remember what we have gone through in some times in elections, Madam Speaker, you'd appreciate the fact that the president's recognizing that we've come so far in our democracy is important. What I must say at this point, Madam Speaker, is that the fact that our democracy is maturing should not be taken for granted. We must continue nurturing it so that the president has promised, and we must keep nudging him as an assembly, that he must run an accountable government, an open government, a transparent government, Mr. Speaker. As in Kenya Kwanza, will ensure that the president carries out his role in a manner that the law requires and in a manner that follows the law. As someone said earlier, Madam Speaker, our president is not one who is averse to criticism. He is not one who wants us to be a choir in this assembly. He is one who has said that he does not have monopoly of knowledge. He is one who has said that he wants to share the views of this country, the views of this parliament, to ensure that what the country needs gets into his thinking, interferes with his thoughts, and he has said that this parliament should not be timid. This parliament should not sit back. This parliament should oversight his government accordingly. And I want to invite all of us to take the president's challenge and ensure that he runs a government that responds to the needs of our people. Madam Speaker, number two, most importantly, is the place of education in the growth of our economy. The acceleration does not mean that we throw education out and anything goes. The acceleration means that everybody who has a chance and wants to get education, everyone wants it, everyone wants to grow by ensuring that their children access education, their children get the best quality of education, Mr. Speaker, in this country, Madam Speaker, in this country, is able to get it. That, Madam Speaker, the president wants to run a country based on merit. And so I want to ask all of us not to give up on education. It's a key thing. And that's why when I hear the court saying that anybody can run for governor, that anybody can run for MP, that education doesn't matter, Mr. Speaker, we are sending the wrong signals, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask all of us to ensure that wherever we come from, education is the only equalizer to anything in this world. If you didn't go to school, Madam Speaker, you won't end anywhere. And so investing in education is something that we must keep talking about, that we must keep doing, that we must ensure that as a country, our best, as the premise of Singapore, Lee Wan Yew had said, that we must be led by the best in our midst. We must be led by people who know what is required in the country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the President talked about investing in agriculture. Our country is agriculture-based. What we must do as a people is to ensure that we become food secure. And how do you do so? Madam Speaker, we must invest at the lowest level of the economy. Everyone who wants to farm should be able to access quality seed, affordable fertilizer, Madam Speaker. If it is avocado, if it is cotton, if it is maize, if it is millet, if it is potato. Let's ensure that everybody who is willing to use his energy, everyone who is willing to use her energy to benefit, to earn a living in this country, Madam Speaker, is supported. And that's why we're going to be requesting, and we're going to ensure this Parliament that we sort out the supply side constraints and the demand side constraints on agriculture. Let's ensure that our people are able to be taught. Let's bring back the extension service officers that used to help us in agriculture. Let's bring back, Madam Speaker, the ensuring that people are able to know the modern methods of farming, modern methods of cooling milk, modern methods of ensuring that our farm produce not go into waste because we don't have storage facilities, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, irrigation is very important for food security and stability, Madam Speaker. The failure of Galana Kulalu is very fresh in our minds. The failure of dams is very fresh in our minds, Madam Speaker. And so we'll be ensuring as an assembly that where money is put in agriculture for irrigation, where money is put to ensure that our people become food secure, as an assembly, we must ensure that the money is used for the right reasons. Corruption should not seep into monies that are meant to benefit our people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've heard so many members saying that the President didn't talk about corruption. Madam Speaker, I don't believe that barking at corruption, I don't believe that shouting at corruption makes it go away. The approach adopted by our President that says that we will ensure that institutions that are supposed to fight corruption are well-funded, well-resourced, well-equipped, Madam Speaker, better speaks for itself than people in this assembly, in the last Parliament, Madam Speaker, and the other one. In the last Parliament, the last President brought us here a list of PSS, ministers, Madam Speaker, who he claimed were corrupt. To date, none of them has ever been convicted by the court of law. Madam Speaker, I don't think we should be asking our President to talk about corruption. We should be asking those we have given that job to do by law. There's no law that requires the President to fight corruption. The law is set up in this assembly and in the Constitution sets up the EACC. It's the body that fights corruption, not the President. And so the President, what we want from him is to ensure that he doesn't try to stop any prosecution, he doesn't try to stop any investigation. But saying that the President must talk about corruption, I think for me, is quite weak. We've had guys who talk about corruption every day. We will fight corruption. We will deal with corruption. But under their noses, people steal and they don't talk about it. And so the approach, in my opinion, by the President to nudge our institutions, and in this issue I want to insist that the DCI, the EACC, and our courts are the ones to blame. They're the ones that we must ensure that as an assembly we put on their toes, not the President. Corruption seeps everywhere in this country, Madam Speaker. Everywhere. Primary schools, nursery schools, everywhere you go is corruption. I don't think the President has 1,000 eyes to be checking how we live. And so fighting corruption is going to be, in my opinion, a concerted effort. All of us must play a role in it, not just saying corruption is bad and when you're found in it, then you say that you're being, witch-hunted, Madam Speaker. We must put the blame where it lies. Madam Speaker, the President proposes a very good project on housing. All we need to do as this assembly is to ensure that, as he has said, if it's doors, they'll be bought in Kisumu if the house is being built in Kisumu. If you're building houses in Kakamega, let the doors, the hinges, the windows be produced in Kisumu, Madam Speaker.
Finally, Madam Speaker, this president means well. We cannot pray that he fails, because if he fails, we fail. I want to ask all of us here, the minority and the majority, let's pray for this president to succeed. Let's help him succeed. For if he succeeds, we succeed and the country succeeds. Thank you so much.
Let's go first to the next member. Then. Member for Baringo North.
Thank you,
Give us a
Madam.
minute. Just let him finish. And
Thank
then
you, Madam
can-
Speaker. First and foremost, I want to thank God through the people of Baringo North who gave me an opportunity to become a member of Parliament on this 13th Parliament, a dream that started in 1984 when I was in Standard 4. But when I saw Parliament then I said, this is truly where I shall be in many years to come. Madam Speaker, I also want to thank the people of Baringo North in all their wards, their religious leaders, and even the people who prayed for me, and the Simba Nimocha campaign team, which delivered victory in a military precision. Madam Speaker, I also want to thank the people of Baringo North, together with the people of Kenya, for giving His Excellency the President William Samoei Ruto an opportunity to become the 50th President of the Republic of Kenya, and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. And more specifically, Madam Speaker, I want to extend on behalf of the people of Baringo North, which told me over this weekend, to also convey thanks to the people of Mount Kenya who gave us a huge vote, together with the other Kenyans who actually gave us an opportunity to elect William Ruto as our 50th president and the deputy president. And through us who have been elected, Madam Speaker, we had an opportunity to elect you and the Speaker of the National Assembly, and I want to congratulate you because, first, citizens. Secondly, members of Parliament. Thirdly, you are the product of our election. Congratulations, Madam Speaker, together with the Speaker of the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, now turning to the President's speech. Madam Speaker, William Ruto is a product of God's work, because this is a man that was fought by all manner of things, including systems, including government machinery, but God, through prayer, state capture, all those things were actually able to succeed. Madam Speaker, it gives us freedom as a country that a son of a pauper, a son from a village, even like myself, who started knowing my first mattress as a skin of a cow, can one day rise to become the President of Kenya. Madam Speaker, I want to also congratulate members for the first time who have been elected, just as myself, to be in this 13th Parliament, the people who were being revered in quotes as monos. Madam Speaker, by here, but mentally, we are not monos, and we cannot be taken for a ride. We have the power to debate, and we have the power to bring in legislation in this House that can actually change the country in a positive trajectory. Madam Speaker, to other senior colleagues, I also want to congratulate you because you utilized well CDF, and it brought you back here. Teach us on how to also come back next time we face another election. Madam Speaker, on the President's speech, I want to say this government, the Kenya Kwanza government, has a bigger mandate across the political divide in this country. If you look at the last election, 39 counties, William Ruto got 25% in 39 counties. It means it has progressively moved from 30 counties in 2013, 34 counties, and now the election of this president is 39 counties. That means there is a broader mandate and acceptance across Kenya. And that is why, immediately after the results were done, and even the Supreme Court, Kenyans kept it are subject to the president. And they will be able to transact business in a manner that is acceptable to all Kenyans, regardless of how they voted in the last elections. Similarly to myself, Madam Speaker, whether they voted for me or not, I will serve them justly because it was a competition. And once we have a winner, we should be able to treat all of them the same way without discrimination. Madam Speaker, even in these appointments of cabinet, the proposed nominees, you can look at it, there is a spread across Kenya, and it brings a lot of unity in our country. So I want to say that on the matter of what is called Fulisa, CRB, credit and access to credit for the people of Kenya, Madam Speaker, it's not enough. I want to congratulate the President for actually intervening. But it's not enough. I was doing research and realized that the Central Bank of United Arab Emirates base interest rate is given at 4.35 at maximum. Madam Speaker, I am looking forward to a country, this country, Kenya, when a borrower will borrow a loan at 3% per annum so that they will be able to do business. For a long time, this country, Kenyans have been working for banks instead of the banks working for the people of Kenya. I will be one of those members of parliament that will bring legislation to bring down interest rates charged for the Kenyans who are borrowing money to do business in Kenya so that we can be able to actually make profits and have businesses that can prosper and even reduce the taxes. Madam Speaker, in my place, my biggest town is called Kabarnet, and women go to Uganda to bring clothes. I wonder, a country called Uganda, which is landlocked, how can people going to buy goods and services from Uganda? Why? Because there are too much taxes in our country. We should look at a situation where we reduce taxes, including VAT, if we were able to reduce during the days of COVID. Why don't we reduce now that we are normal? We reduce the interest rates charged on VAT to 12%. So that Kenyans can be able to do business. The Asala Nation government talks about spreading the bottom taxes so that we have more. But we can also reduce the VAT in this country. Even PE. Madam Speaker, just the other day when we were being served with pay slips, Madam Speaker, you see money being given in the right hand and taken on the left hand. Madam Speaker, as honorable members of this House, we must be able to look at legislation on taxes so that they don't become security for this country. If our stomachs are not sorted out, no matter things that we do, there is nothing that they can develop in this country. Let us first of all sort out the food security of our country so that we have food on the table and people can be able to work and be able to generate, and we can move to a middle income economy to even first world. So I agree that if we can bomb water for irrigation so that we don't rely on rain-fed agriculture, we rely on irrigation. Madam Speaker, we shall change. And finally, Madam Speaker, because I've seen the lights and I have a lot for the country, is that, Madam Speaker, if we sort out education, school fees, and sort out food, and sort out health through universal health care, those three things, this country will change forever because you will have sorted out the fundamentals that affect human life. Madam Speaker, I want to raise my case there and say in the years to come and in these years of parliament, I will do more to reshape the direction of development in this country, in this parliament. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Now we'll have the member for Isiolo County. after which we'll have the member for Kilifi North, then the member for Naivasha. Allow the member to make his intervention.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This being the last afternoon to discuss the presidential address, I would kindly seek your indulgence to direct the House so as to reduce time allocated for each member to 5 minutes so that we can amply contribute to the presidential address. Inasmuch as we also know that we are yet to make our maiden speech, may I kindly implore on you to reduce the...
There was another intervention by a member for Kajiado, I think. To respond to that, then we can close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to second the honorable member that every member here want to get an opportunity to contribute on this speech of the president. So I do support. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, since it's not procedural to change the time in between the debate, I think that can be something that members can agree upon, and whoever gets the next opportunity just tries to make it as brief as they can. Some members have already done it, so I think we can now proceed. Member for Isiolo.
Thank you. Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank Almighty Allah for his guidance and goodness that has seen me through all the hurdles in my journey to this house as people's representative. Madam Speaker, I also wish, in a special way, with so much humility, stand here to thank people of Isiolo for the honor, trust, and confidence they conferred on me by resoundingly electing me as their county woman MP against all odds. Madam Speaker, Isiolo people indeed demonstrated the meaning of democracy in its truest form by electing me to 13th Parliament in an election that was intensely contested and strongly characterized by, sadly, not real issues affecting ordinary people, nor competencies on the part of candidates seeking leadership position, but narratives that were heavily informed by tribal clan entitlements endorsement, and formations that almost destroyed the social fabric on which Isiolo communities advance their well-being. Madam Speaker, as their representative, this day I proudly stand here the resilience and determination showed by the ordinary people of Isiolo in maintaining peace and brotherhood in their grand march to the ballot, where they expressed their will through their votes as the ultimate decision makers. Madam Speaker, on this day, I make a solemn promise not to let them down, but to serve them diligently. Madam Speaker, now moving on to matters affecting Isiolo people and entire arid and semi-arid counties, I would like to make reference to the address by His Excellency the President on drought situation in our country and intervention that made by government so far. Madam Speaker, I wish to clearly state here that the situation on the ground has now moved from drought to famine. People are now dying of hunger. There's no water for human and livestock consumption. Madam Speaker, while we appreciate the food that was flagged off by His Excellency the President, I wish to state here, looking at how the situation is evolving, a lot more action needs to be undertaken urgently to save human lives and livelihoods. Madam Speaker, continuous food relief is needed from now up until 5 to 6 months after the rains. This is because even when it rains, hunger will persist up to when farmers can make the first harvest and animals can bounce back strong. Madam Speaker, I advise that in future food distribution be guided by number of households in a sub-location and the population in an area. I am saying this because, Madam Speaker, I'm sad to report to you, or to report to this House, that the consignment that was flagged off by His Excellency the President ended up at household level as just 1 kg of rice and 1 kg of beans, which, if you look at the situation on the ground, will not change anything if we are actually serious about addressing the situation. Madam Speaker, once again, in making reference to the President's address, His Excellency talked about climate change. He pointed out climate mitigation that included reducing emission of greenhouse to lessen the effects of climate change. While we appreciate that, what the President's speech missed out was the adaptation part of climate change. Madam Speaker, as we all know, the climate change effect is already upon us. We must find ways to cope with it, and this needs to happen at national and local level. So, as a country, we will continue experiencing effects of climate change in the foreseeable future, and it is important that we begin the journey on how we can cope with it. Madam Speaker, in this regard, for effective adaptation to take place As a country, we need to invest and make use of climate information in all our planning and development decisions. It is not right that we always look surprised by failed rains and drought situation in our country, and as such, fail to take action in good time to save lives and livelihoods. Madam Speaker, still on address by the President, I was saddened by the fact that the address by His